regardless of the pennies that we have. It's still we're just trying to survive. We're trying to keep our face above water.
True.
And we need to be asking for more than just to keep our face beyond water, because like I said, this is a global village. And money is circulating in the trillions. You have trillionaires now. People are valued as being trillionaires, and we think our few dollars is being passed down for boomers is a solution.
So
We're in a great problem, regarding understanding our economic challenges. So we need to focus on just people doing the work in regards to the economy, in regards to how things are circulating. But we need to bring our understanding to today, and awareness of what we need to do today moving forward. It's not the same as the old days. It's evolved. Things has evolved drastically. And we have to focus on what's the best solution in regards of just a temporary patchwork of just passing $1 around the community and trying to get value out of it. We need to be focusing on, I would say, like you said, short-term, midterm, long-term. Short-term is the patchwork, things like that, but at the same time, policy dictates everything.
Okay, let me touch on something. You said something about keeping your head above water. Instead of us trying to keep above water, let's start building boats. That way, not only do we keep our heads above water, we can float on that water and move towards what we need to do.
Like how?
Well, again, he said patchwork. Patchwork on a roof keeps the rain from coming in, stops the leaks, right?
Right.
It's a temporary solution,
Right.
but it brings about a temporary change.
Right.
Again, short term, midterm, long term. And we have to sit down and put this on paper. We, all of us have to come to the table, bring our ideas, our ideologies, and whatever we think will be best for us. I'm not a financial whiz like you are. I know about Cash App and PayPal and Venom and all that. But as far as like Bitcoins, and I know gold is going to be the end thing. You better get some gold. You have to start looking at what is most important for you to invest in. I cannot say it enough. We have to be about ownership. Rental property is cool, but ownership of property is better. Number two, renting a car is cool, but owning your car is better. They'll tell you when you buy a car and it drives off the lot, it depreciates in value. So what? I'm going to pay it off. It's going to be mine, and you can't repo it once I pay it off. That's what we got to learn how to get to. It's so easy for us to get caught up in this American standard of, I'm going to lease a car every 2 years, and it's having a car payment, it's no big deal. But if you pay your car off and you don't have that $400 a month car payment, I've done it 4 times. I love not having a car payment.
Even the evolution of the motor vehicle is evolving to where they're going to make it to a point where you have to get to them. Just like everything is being automated, so even technology is being advanced into the point where where the technology is made to where we have no alternative other than to go to them. So we have to enter to a realm where we have to see
I'm gonna say on
where
that
we're going.
is, and I hear what you're saying about us going to them, but I also think we get that knowledge and we recycle that knowledge among ourselves. We got young people that are smart. We got young people. My 3-year-old can work my tablet better than I can. And I'm the one paid for it. So our young people have the mindset to do better than what we did. And it used to be each generation was supposed to do better.
Right.
But somewhere along the line, we have digressed. And we are not doing what we should be doing to improve our situation because we're so dependent on our oppressor to help us meet our needs.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, and then I got one over here too. Go ahead, Latif.
I want to ask him.
Oh,
Yeah, go for it.
You said the 1, 2, 3, long range, medium, and
Short.
Short-term,
range.
midterm,
What do you
long-term.
suggest?
Excuse me, say it again.
What do you suggest? I know you
What-
call it
what-
short-term
Yeah.
abandonage, right?
Yeah, but there's always a short-term thing to stay alive,
Right.
But at the same time, the long game is the goal, to make sure we're progressing. And according to what I've learned, I'm still learning, but we're in a situation where we can, let's say this take 253 years for us to be able to get out of the hole that we're in regardless of, because you gotta consider, we're 30% of the population, Americans that descended from slavery, right?
All right.
We're 13%, and our wealth value is only to less percent, okay? So you take the rest of that wealth, you give it to white people. We're done. You know, so our solution has to be, listen, we have to, they might as well either kill us or give us reparations. Because you're choosing what? A quick death or a slow death. Our backs are against the wall. They've been playing this game for us for too long. Okay, so we're in this situation till we have to force whoever's in this, we gotta play this silly game of politics, just like MLK had to do. And eventually we got some things passed like affirmative action, but then they co-opted that. But we have to get them to, we have to hold them accountable, because in this day and age, it's law and order. You know, they can do anything that they want, but at this point we have to play the game of policy. We have to make sure there's a policy in there that can repair us. Now, according to us, William Darity from Duke University, he's leading this in regards of the data and the statistics that we'll need to repair us in the whole
Let me ask
system.
you this, what about
resolve the solution?
the issue that came up earlier about, I guess this would be a medium way, about the 15% here in Indiana,
Right.
that goes through people that say they represent us, but they don't even address the issue. So you're saying we need to what, choke them more?
Well, we have to, everybody has to be held accountable. If they're not doing the job that's bringing upon a genuine solution, then the responsibility is on the people, okay, to hold them accountable. And if, in the ways in which we can do it in a legitimate way, we have to do it. You know, whether it's getting them out of there and getting somebody else in there that can do the job. And we have to go against the grain, if that's what we have to do, but we have to get people that can support us in a very genuine way and not be worried about what the status quo is willing to bear upon them.
Well, you know, that's part of the problem. We have to have people that represent us. We got black people downtown on the city county council. Y'all know that.
Yeah.
They don't represent us like they should.
All right. So
Y'all know that.
we need to choke
If you were
them.
down, we need to choke them.
But why is that though?
Because
I have
we,
one thing.
No,
wait,
why
hold
do
on,
they not
mama, cause
represent
she
us?
coming.
Why do they
Here's
not
why.
represent us, though?
Because they're black and we've been conditioned to vote for Democrat. We've been told that Democrats are gonna do more for us poor black folk than the Republicans will. So we go with that lie again and again and again. And we keep voting the same old people in because they're Democrats, and they go down there and they vote the
Screw
same
us in the
old
butt
stuff
again
against
without
us.
no grease.
If you were down there for Proposition 258, they voted $175,000 for an app to look for food pantries
Right.
that the state already has out there.
All right.
But that was a kickback for the company that creates the app. So yeah, they look out for each other. And somebody's getting a kickback and somebody's getting a kickback and we getting kicked around.
Right.
So it's up to us
It's all about
to
money.
establish a new standard. We gotta have the right people in place that aren't Republicans or Democrats
Right.
that are saying, I'm not here for the party. I'm here for the people.
All right.
I'm not here for the party, I'm here for a new purpose. And until we get there and we get the right people that'll step up and ain't scared,
All right.
there ain't gonna be no change. They gonna
EFFI.
go along with the
That's why
flow.
we
They gonna
building
go along.
EFFI. That's
Yeah,
why
they
we
gonna,
building that.
as long as we keep putting puppets in office, we gonna get played.
Well, I think Malcolm X made it back in that time. I think LBJ was trying to become president. He said, you know, if they don't have the policy, okay, that's going to benefit us and improve our quality of life, we can send it back to the cotton patch which he came from. Okay, so in terms, there's no way out of this political game. We got to play chess.
Right.
We can't hide. There's no escape hatch. We
Right.
can't go back to Africa.
Ajabu
Think
swear
your
he's
solution
one of
is
the
gonna
best
be
chess
there.
players out here.
I think we have to get some courage, get some tenacious, enthusiasm about what we need to do. But going through the policies and also the necessary patchwork that's necessary to keep us alive is essential. But ultimately, we need a collective effort. Now, there has to be a critical mass of us.
Right.
We know everybody's not going to be in tune,
Right.
and everybody's kind of like in la la land, and
Right.
that's just the concept of propaganda and deception. It's
Right.
all psychological and subliminal.
Right.
Okay, but we need enough, a critical mass of people, so people begin to fall in and understand, that we have to hold political heads responsible And if they're not gonna do the job, they can suffer
hardly
with us.
agree with that.
You come on down here and suffer with us, because if you're not gonna do the right thing, then hey, we can all just go together.
I hear what you're saying. Hold that thought. Mama had something, and I got you next, brother. Go ahead, Mama. Or did you look? You remember?
Nah, I remember.
Okay, come on.
It has to start with us. There are so many things that I can say that we don't understand politics. We don't understand. We choose to just vote for the president, vote for the presidential election. It starts with us voting in those primaries. We can pick those people. We can continuously talk and talk and talk. We don't even get out there and vote. I bet there's at least one person that I've seen today that has not voted in the primary, thinking that it's not necessary.
Right.
We control that.
Right.
These meetings that we have, they need to be televised. They need to be Facebooked in some certain, certain things they'll need to know.
Right.
But other things like that,
Right.
educate us, educate your children that are getting ready to be 18 to vote. Educate your people. Educate that man that you think has just sat drunk. Go
Right.
pick him up when it's time to vote.
Right.
Vote in that primary. Educate yourself on who is running. Promote these people that are running or haven't run yet to do so. Excuse me, you two up there.
No, you're fine.
You know what I'm saying? I'm serious. It's just, or it goes more than just saying them.
Right,
It starts with us.
right.
And education with our kids now, with money, with how do you run your money. Christmas.
Don't get me started.
Really, girl,
No, give me
really,
some.
I
Do
understand.
you realize how that can fix Christmas? Why what we spent can fix Blitz water. It can fix a whole bunch of people here that are homeless and starting to. Man.
Slow down, sister.
Wait a minute. Let me get this brother right here. Now I know something out there. Go
We
ahead.
understand.
All right.
Take your time.
I hear what everybody's saying, and I respect everybody's ways of looking at things, the problem, the solution. You get what I'm saying? I did 18 years in prison, so I had a lot of dialogues with a lot of different viewpoints.
Yeah.
And me, I'm siding with anybody that's for our community. I look at it like this, like Malcolm said, we might have differences in strategies, tactics, you dig what I'm saying? But we deal with our differences behind closed doors. But when we have a group discussion with each other though, we
Right.
gotta be real direct.
Right.
But there's no disrespect.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I look at Martin Luther King, we gonna use him for example. He the one that got us the right to vote. You dig what I'm saying? But I tell people all the time, he showed us a bigger form of political power, boots on the ground.
Right.
That's how you change and demand. Political power concedes nothing without a demand. That's what Frederick Douglass
Right,
said.
right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
And like I said, I'm more of that framework of like Fred Hampton. You dig what I'm saying? Where the state is always being what it's gonna be. It's not understanding. We don't understand politics because and that's part of the problem. But we don't understand the nature of the state.
Okay.
The state is always going to be a class dictatorship over the lower class, working class, and basic masses, period. This is why I was asking a question about neo-colonialism, because they put a lot of people that look just like me and you in there, you dig what I'm saying, to lull us to sleep, to reinforce these white supremacist policies. At the end of the day, you said it's going to be a civil war. You dig what I'm saying? And we believe in the movement it's going to be a civil war. So if that's how, and we look at it, what's been going on with the police killing us out here, this is the genocide. You dig what I'm saying? This ain't no coincidence where all these people getting killed, 1,000 people getting killed a year and nobody's being prosecuted. Nah, this is by design. You dig what I'm saying? So we gotta start getting angry out here and getting to the streets and starting shutting these cities down. I look at it like that's how you build movements. You dig what I'm saying? When you out here fighting back, like Mao Zedong used to say, people, and I'm going to just be clear because I'm speaking for myself when I say this. They know what I stand for. I go to city council and tell them straight up, I'm a revolutionary. I don't respect your system. You dig what I'm saying? Because your system don't respect us. It's never did for 400 years. You dig what I'm saying? So I look at it like this. When Mao Zedong said, he said, how do you make revolution? He said, you practice it. And you do so by getting out there. You develop in the process. So when we out here in the streets and protesting this police brutality, I'm standing with these families. But at the same time, I'm telling them, look, this is why you're not getting justice, because it was by design for us not to get justice.
And
So we got to organize like the Panthers did. You know what I'm saying?
Can I pull it in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shall we do?
And I didn't hear anything that I disagree with.
You do,
Amen.
Nah, I'm good.
Come on up this way. Yeah,
Hey,
Wild Style, he's got a
See.
presentation. Have you had it spoken yet?
No, I haven't.
Do your thing.
All right.
Oh, I just got to
yeah.
This is working.
You always working.
Ready? Okay.
You always working.
I am. I got a hat.
All right, if I can have it.
All right, love.
Good to see you. All right. So now, Wild Style is going to make a presentation on the history of Indiana Avenue and how they dislocated all the housing and stuff there, you know, to make room for that university. And yeah, by design.
Yeah. All this shit's by design.
So, hello everybody.
Hey.
Hey, we're all here because racism affects black people's ability to receive money and use money and build family and community wealth. That's why we're here.
Say it again.
Please speak up.
Yeah.
We are here because racism affects black people's ability to receive money, use money, and build family and community wealth.
All right.
Now, my friend Imhotep, he talks about money is just a social construct that people will kill you and enslave you over.
Right.
So it is important when we look at what's going on. Some of it is we've been taught to believe that the taxes we pay isn't our money, and that while we give all this money and they redistribute it out in different ways, which I'm gonna talk about here amongst this Indiana Avenue mess, because we paid for that.
Right.
Black people paid for Indiana Avenue to be wiped out because they paid taxes to all the
Morgan was
institutions
involved in that.
that did it. But when we look at how things are working, America isn't so much as a melting pot as it is a big house with roommates. And
I never heard it like that.
and some of our roommates ain't doing us too well. We've been paying into this pot, and they've been doing something else that only benefits them with the money. You know, we've talked about today the school to prison pipeline. We ain't talked about that piggy bank to poverty pipeline that, you know, that starts in infancy. In black economics in Indianapolis, from my research, suggests that the history of it starts with the 500 acres on both sides of Indiana Avenue. The first black-owned business appeared in the 500 block of Indiana Avenue in 1865, and it was a grocery store. Now imagine that. Now most of the black communities in Indianapolis are food deserts, but the first black-owned business over there was a grocery store. Indiana Avenue was where Madam C.J. Walker moved her business, actually incorporated it. She recruited the talent out of this city to run her business, the lawyers and everybody else to do it. And she built a business that stood for 71 years right here in Indianapolis and became the first recognized black millionaire, self-made millionaire, man or woman. Oscar Robinson came from the Avenue. He's a NBA Hall of Famer. We were internationally known for our jazz scene, and they don't tend to recognize all the other music forms that were done on Indiana Avenue. And if I can quote some of the narratives around it, one being from Savvy, as the real estate practices became less segregated and black households could move to formerly all-white suburbs built in the 1950s and 60s, Lockfield and Indiana Avenue declined. That's a lie. That is a bold-faced lie.
Explain.
First of all, Indiana Avenue was redlined in the entire existence, which meant that not federally, they said not to loan money over there. And they had, if you can look it up now, Sanborn maps. They kept a very more accurate. In fact, I have to go to that to look at to see what streets were there. The Sanborn maps were used to show off all the areas and keep an accurate description. It also graded everybody from A through F, who he wanted to give a loan to, and obviously Indiana Avenue was always F. So they were told not to loan there. The federal government said not to loan to racially, they used some word, they didn't use black people, but it meant black people. Not to loan there. And so during this time, in the 50s and 60s is when IU Health decided that they wanted their hands on the avenue, and they took some of it. In 1958, the Department of Metropolitan Development of Indianapolis, or Marion County at the time, came out with their own plan. It ran a highway straight through what is MLK right now, and basically just redistributed all of Indiana Avenue for a better world for white folks. And because the central business district in Indianapolis was not doing too well right then, and Indiana Avenue was apparently still thriving. It didn't look like what they wanted it to look like, and they kept calling it slum clearance, but if all accounts it was doing pretty well given the circumstances.
I used to hang out down there.
Okay. And so this went on, and then they decided that they wanted to do this big commuter campus and have all these thousands of students come in for this Indiana University, Purdue University conglomerate. And so they wiped out everything. And you know, they'll say that it was integration. That wasn't integration. I have a confidential memo from IUPY in 1970 that discussed the riots, 2 days of rioting on Indiana Avenue in the summer of 1969, where they admitted it was their fault. We caused the conditions to be miserable. We had become the landlords of just about everybody that would sell to them, and many people couldn't afford to buy their own homes anyway, but the ones that did, some of them were taken by eminent domain, and the rest of the businesses shut down, the black businesses shut down because there weren't obviously enough black people anymore to go patronize them. And as that happened, things got really miserable, and they burnt white-owned businesses in June of 1969, and it took the Black Panthers patrolling and actually putting out the fires to get things a little bit better there for them. And the memo, the dean, he felt bad about the situation, but you know, he had a job to do, because that's how white supremacy works. They don't all hate black people.
They just follow orders.
Right, they following orders. And that's a big thing.
Famous last words.
Right. So, like, how does that work today? Well, if you weren't aware that the Department of Metropolitan Development is still around, and even researching it 20 years later, and several different mayors later, they all promised the black community that they're gonna rebuild Indiana Avenue, like they didn't just give the plan for what they was gonna do to it. The plans in that 1958 plan, any urban planner that goes to school now would look at plans like that and be told that that's an example of what not to do, because it actually hurt not just black Indianapolis, it hurt all of Indianapolis, their plans. They turned everything into parking lots, and then they wondered why nobody wanted to come live down there among parking lots, or why they didn't want to shop. They built the highways through there, and instead of everybody mysteriously coming back to downtown, they just come down there to work and leave. So it didn't work out. The point being is that they know about as much about city planning as we do. And that's the truth. And today, these same entities that we all have to deal with, I think some of them are more well-intentioned, but I don't know how much less ignorant they are. Today, they have created all these different programs to help our underserved communities or disinvested communities. Unfortunately, though, many of these development incentives that they have are really built around a legacy of redlining and Jim Crow that got us in this situation in the first places. Almost all of them use tax credits, which is basically they give you a right not to pay taxes. Now, that don't mean as much for me, because I don't make a whole lot of money. But for people that got some serious money, and let me look at here and see who's got serious money. Oh, white households hold an estimated 92% of all the value of all stocks in the U.S. I think they got some serious money. 80% of all real estate, white households. 83% of the value of all other assets that these tax incentives apply to are also held by white households. And so the incentives are set up and designed so that most of us, and I'm not watching your pockets, but I'm assuming most of us don't have the money to be paying Uncle Sam in the first place to really get a bang out of our buck to be able to invest in our own communities. And that's why we have to demand better.
True. We gotta choke the city council more.
We have to choke them, and some of them are ignorant, and I'm not saying it to be rude or disrespectful,
Just facts.
but some of them are ignorant of
Hey,
this.
brother, there's nobody alive now that don't know. we all think, we all ask about what's wrong with these hunters. They know. Everybody know what the problem is. They just playing stupid. So that's why we're gonna have to choke them some kind of way. And I don't mean physically with my hand. I'm talking about if like the brother said back here, if we need to show up down at the city council and demand this 15% with a bill asking for it, and we entitled to it, and if you're not voting for us to get it, so we gotta do something to you, and we gotta say that publicly to them.
And we have to.
Let me ask that everybody hold comment until he finishes,
Okay.
so that his, and there'll be a time to interact, but let him finish so that, you don't interrupt his thought.
And so we need better education, and I'm not talking about to the kids. I'm talking about to our black elites. I didn't like what I saw at that the previous African American Coalition meeting where we disparaged poor blacks for not investing and for not doing this and that, blah blah blah, this and that. The elites, y'all had the ability to help lead. And that needs to happen, and y'all need to educate yourselves about what's really going on. So I've got a short list, and this isn't everybody. This is not everybody, but there's a short list of folks in Indianapolis that I think that we need to be having some conversations with.
Not confrontation.
Well,
Maybe.
conversation first.
Yeah.
The Department of Metropolitan Development. They're still around, and their mission is still to help Indianapolis communities and to do the plans. Just like they did Indiana Avenue and other stuff, they ain't gone nowhere. And so when you see that so many black and brown people and everybody is in poverty, well, the Department of Metropolitan Development, either that was your plan or the plan didn't work, but we need to have a conversation.
All right.
The Local Initiative Support Corporation, that's called LISC. The local office of the nation's leading community development support organization working in Indianapolis neighborhoods for more than 25 years. We aim to improve life expectancy, increase economic mobility, and close the racial equity gap through a comprehensive approach designed to address the social determinants of one's health, blah, 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 blah. We need to be having a conversation. Huh?
What's the name of that one?
LISC. Local,
Lowest infant mortality rate in the country.
the highest. Highest. Yeah.
Whichever the one is the
Yeah,
worst.
yeah, we have some of the highest. LISC is a community development financial institution. It means they're a bank that offers loans and equity and stuff, so we need to be having a conversation. Which local initiatives are they supporting in our communities? And whether we all know about them and why you know, because they all get a salary. Why, if we don't know about them, why don't we know about them?
Okay.
And it's probably going to be a question to them because they're the ones that get paid to make sure that we know that they're there. Also, the Indiana Housing and Community Development. This is a state agency. And let's see, to provide housing opportunities, promote self-sufficiency, and strengthen communities. They also are huge players in what goes on. INHP, Indianapolis Neighborhood Housing Partnership, says for more than 30 years, INHP has provided financial education, unbiased credit, and mortgage advising to people in the community, enabling them to make informed choices and gain purchasing power by financing projects or initiatives that promote affordable housing and improve quality of life. INHP helps to build strong Indianapolis neighborhoods. And they've been around for a while. And we need to be looking at their programs. How is that working for us? And if it's not working, again, like the rest of them, how are you going to make that work for us? And whether we need to talk to the city council, which we do, and every other politician, which we do, about making sure that everybody is held accountable, not for them to say that, oh, we need to just continually educate ourselves, or we're stupid, or you wasted our money on that, or we're all consumers after you destroyed our historic black culture district and we have nowhere else to go shop. No, we need to be looking at them. What are you doing to put all this back? What are you doing as far as reparations and justice and equity? So another thing that I'm gonna talk about, and this will be like one of the last things, diversity is not equity.
Good. I like that.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about how many blacks or women or whatever minorities that you're gonna say that you have on.
Transgenders.
Yeah, or that you got on your board, because diversity is not equity, right? Here's an example of diversity. Diversity during the slave trade. William Ellison Jr. owned 53 black people in South Carolina, making him the biggest of 171 other black people that owned slaves. Now that's diversity, because that brother owned other black people. That is not equity.
Right.
That is not what we're asking for. I don't care who you got on your board.
Definition yours.
Right. Well, what is that organization doing for black people in this city? So at the end of the day, we need our black elites, our rank and file people, or poor people, and we all need to be coming together to apply some pressure and have these difficult conversations. Not to blame each other for this and that. We didn't end up here because of mistakes that we made. We ended up here because of mistakes that white supremacy and their short-sightedness did to the city, and they've caused a problem that they're always chasing to this day.
Okay. Good job.
Let's give brother a hand. It's interesting about Indiana Avenue and that riot in 1969, because I was in Vietnam.
Wow.
And I read in the Overseas Weekly, or whatever they call the military paper, you know, because the cities was going on. And I read Indianapolis. And they said, damn, this brother's gonna win off. Reggie Jones, John Lance went off. When you're talking about that by design, that highway, it's called a defense highway. And they built it around the city so that they could be up, that if we rebelled, they had the upper position. We were supposed to come back and take care of that, but they brought that heroin into the country. And when I was over there, I left in 1970, I didn't see any heroin. I went to El Paso and was processing the brothers back from Vietnam, and all of them come back.
John.
Junkies! which means that they, after research, by design,
Yeah, all this shit.
put that in there. You understand what I'm saying? So that revolutionary zeal that we had would be suppressed.
They did a good job on that.
When you talk about wealth, the foundation of wealth is land. Now, we can hope that the city county council do right, hope that lists do right. But history, I think Malcolm said, is best qualified to reward all research. They ain't done right, so don't be looking for them to do right.
That's right.
We've got land. And if we're gonna be free, and see, it looks like our people just want to live better, have a better quality of life in our oppression.
Right.
We ain't really trying to be free. I don't mind being in jail so long as they give me good food.
Right.
Well, I ain't trying, and we shouldn't be trying to live better in our oppression.
Right.
That's right.
We've got to grow up and mature and take on the responsibility to be free. The first part of doing that is being able to feed self.
Right. Right.
That's yours.
So cute.
That's what.
That's yours. Sister's got land,
Who is she?
need people.
Who is she?
This is Sister Lataba, my Billie Jane gold.
Right.
I got it
Right.
right.
Dad, peace and love, y'all.
Say what you got to say.
Absolutely.
So that's my cue, what to talk about. So I won't address nothing else. So I'm on the food piece. So my position is sustainable freedom. You know, liberation has to be sustainable. And if that's something you're interested in, which it should be, then you're going to have to take the approach of what's going to be your long-term resolve, what's going to be your generational, fix. And you're going to have to start resolving things from that perspective. A lot of the problems that have been mentioned here tonight, yes, I do keep hearing it. It is true that things happen by design. There are a lot of things that have happened by design. Some of these problems did not come about organically, and then some of them did come about because we turned our backs on what we always at one time held. At a time when we had the fewest financial resources, our children ate better. Did everybody here have dinner tonight? Everybody here? You all have eaten today? Have you eaten at least once today?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anybody not from that town here? Anybody not from this city? You're not from here?
Born.
Yeah, raised here at least. Okay. There wasn't always money to go to the grocery store, and there wasn't always grocery stores. If you grew up in any city that had old black people in it, you ate pretty much out of the yards you cut through to go to the candy store with your nickels. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When your mama and them told you to go outside and play somewhere, and you weren't allowed to run in and out of the house for anything, I made my childhood fortune off of children who couldn't go in the house for anything because I brought everything out of the house. So the reality was, we used to run the streets, and I can speak definitively for growing up here in Nap. If you ran around in your regular neighborhood, which was a car ride away today, you ate peaches, pears,
Off the tree.
grapes off the trees, off the fences, all through the neighborhood. All tomatoes you ate out of everybody's garden. You ate, I'm saying, even along Fall Creek. And y'all know Fall Creek ain't been clean
Right.
in nobody's lifetime in this room. But even along Fall Creek, there was peach trees, there was apple trees, there was pear trees down by MLK used to be Northwestern.
Right.
And the avenue in Northwestern did cross, but we didn't really encounter white folks until you crossed 38th Street. 21st Street was that first little divide, But it ain't just Indiana Avenue. Black, 90% of downtown residential was black. These was regular black folks. My mother and them grew up on Fayette Street, so anywhere from the canal on up through Northwestern, all the way through Riverside, anything out west was my stomping grounds. And I could leave home in the morning and not come back till it was time to go to bed because I ate outside and I didn't have to be at everybody's table.
Right.
You could eat anywhere. The problem we have right now is we can't feed our children, and so our self-respect as women, as men, is going to come into question. And the way our children once ate was because you put your hand to soil. And our children don't want to hear anything we have to say because we can't feed them. And I can remember the day, and I was wrong as two left shoes, but I can remember the day that I, as a teenager, took advantage of the fact that my mama couldn't feed me. Because I can remember it. I'm telling you. Because I grew up in a house where she always said she paid the cost to be the boss. But the day she couldn't feed me, she couldn't boss me no more. And I was wrong because it was my mama. But as soon as you start feeding yourself, they can't boss you no more. Some of y'all have seen me speak publicly, and I can tell you ain't no razor you got sharper than this thing in my mouth. Nothing.
That red rudder.
I don't have no reason to fear these people that y'all gonna vote for. I don't vote for them. I speak straight words. I feel straight up about them. They ain't got nothing I want, and I ain't got shit they can take. And that's just how it is. And when you get to a point where you can feed yourself, you ain't got to be scared of them.
Right.
They can't boss you then. I can remember my son being about 9 years old, and we had gone to Georgia, and we were, as a family, we were going to go have dinner. And while we're waiting to be seated in this place that's real talked up about, I don't even remember the name of this place. There's something real talked up about this restaurant down in Georgia. We waiting to be seated, and Bilal had on a t-shirt that had a big picture of Malcolm X on it, and it said, "Only a fool would allow his enemy to educate his children." While we waiting to be seated, this white man's looking at my son's shirt, and he laughed. And he said, "Where do you go to school?" Bilal, in his naivety, at 9 years old, said, "I'm homeschooled, but I ain't naive." So then I laughed. Because that's really where it's at. When you feed yourself, they can't tell you what to do. Then when you say, "There's a price to mine." See, you can't have nothing in here for free. Then what you will know, and I got to figure out who this young brother is right here, because he done hit my radar. But what you will know is you can't tell them or yourself that they won't come in the door. But what you can say is they won't come in the door for free.
Cost.
There's a cost. At some point, your manhood, your womanhood, your freedom, you got to decide you're going to be able to feed yourself. There's a whole lot that we asking people for that we don't have to ask for. All you got to be is resolve.
That's right.
And I'm not one for asking for things. All you got to be is resolve. Some of the things we asking for, and I'm not saying we're not entitled to. Because don't get me wrong, they start rolling out, reparation checks. I got an ID to cash one. I ain't turning down nothing but my collar, but the truth of the matter is, they ain't got nothing that I can't have for myself. When there's a recall on foods, we talk about food deserts. The food ain't safe to eat anyway. They don't sell food in grocery stores. And we don't even want to talk about this. Is infrastructurally, diabolically, deliberately coming to pieces. This is what it is. It ain't just they killing black people. They killing the people. This has become a slave planet. They don't sell food in the grocery store. That's the bottom line. That's why you got to specialty order seeds to get another seed that will get you fruit. You don't even know what the hell you eat. You begging them. Everybody who gives you food gets it from the same source. And you want to vote for somebody who will pass out free turkeys. Vote for somebody who will give away free Christmas toys. Vote for somebody who's going to give away free boxes of food. And all that shit come out of a pantry.
Right.
You don't even feed yourself. And this ain't a throw off on you. This shit is free. I don't have to glue one leaf on a plant. I put a seed in the ground and Mother Earth take care of the rest.
Right.
The rain's gonna come. The sun's gonna come. If I got some place to sit my purse, I got some place to feed my children.
All right.
We're not thinking about this thing. And I'm all with playing the long game. But put your roots in the ground for the right now.
Right.
I'm all with the long game. I'm with it. If you got some paperwork you need to fill out and it might come cash due in about 40 years, I'm with it. If I'm not here, give it to my daughter. She know what to do with it.
All right.
But what am I going to feed my granddaughter right now?
Right.
What are you going to feed your kids next week? Y'all one paycheck away from eviction. One. Whole lot of y'all not making ends meet. It's plenty of times. I'm just one of these people. These is regular people problems. This is not something special.
Right.
But one thing I did when I educated my children, I held them responsible for being able to feed themselves. And I taught my daughters, which I have 6 of. If you leave a situation with nothing, you've left with everything you need. We've got to stop playing helpless.
Yeah.
We've got to start feeding ourselves. We do have a campus on southeast of Indianapolis, but I'm from the regular west side. I grew up here. We make our campus open and available for anybody who sees us, is committed to us, and is about our freedom. Keep your white friends at home.
I say.
Her Living Campus stands for Honor, Educate, and Restore. Everything necessary to teach and or learn sustainability. Gardening, firearm safety, camping, basic skills to advanced skills, right there. Everybody want to talk about what they read, what they think, what they want to try. Y'all don't even get out there and get your hands dirty. How the hell you a revolutionary? You scared of bugs? Now don't get me wrong, I don't like bugs in the house. Avid about that. But y'all don't even go outside. I touched down a week ago, and you see me say I'm coming here working, talking drywall, snow caved in a roof. Get to it, sleeves up, get it done. I got 2 sons. I told them I want that whole roof removed today. Guess what happened? The whole structure's down. That thing was down in 2 hours.
Good job.
Very rarely do I call Caucasian males to come and do anything out at that property. Very, 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 very rarely. That's not ever going to be a call I make. I hold a cell phone. It's got about 600 numbers in it. And when I start figuring I got a problem that can't be solved on that phone, and some of y'all I don't know no more. We got to start looking to us, and we got to start putting a cost on our freedom. That situation with the Avenue, great report, brother. We got to start talking to our children, and we got to teach our children to talk to old folks. I'm thankful that my children know what good elders are, because elders know how to grow food. They know how to survive hard times. They know how to get by with nothing. But if you stuck on name brand labels,
They stuck to.
they screwed. They more than stuck. We mortgage the future of our children because we won't feed them. So if you serious about your revolution, if you serious about political power, get yourself in a position where you feed yourself, and they'll come trying to talk to you. You won't have to keep knocking on their door. They'll come knocking on yours. And then you could tell them what it will and will not be. I mean, you got to hear what I'm telling you. It might sound good, but you can't come and sit and have tea to talk to me. You got to pick that shovel up. You got to wear some boots. You got to do something. And I don't do useless food eaters. So brothers, you don't come out there in your pretty clothes trying to have no conversation out of 5 minutes. That's just not it. You got to earn your manhood. And you got to be, you can't be a queen and too pretty for me, because I guarantee you, my womanhood is unmatched.
That's true.
And I clean up really well. But we get together, we hitting it. We hitting it. You got to be able to feed your children. You got to take pride in being able to do so. Because no matter what you do, you could be fighting hard for these children today. Right now, we got some powerful minds in here. We could be really fighting hard for them. And guess who them children are looking to? They look at the white folks, because white folks pet them on the head, smile at them, and feed them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're interested in really doing something sustainable, if you're interested in really taking it to another level, put your play clothes on.
Yeah.
Put your play clothes on. Come outside, put some seeds in the ground. Start prepping the soil. This is a 4-season situation. We've been growing food year round. I can teach you how to build a solar greenhouse.
That's right.
I can teach you how to build a solar greenhouse. I can teach you how to feed yourself. More than me eating my words, you could eat my words. As a matter of fact, your children could eat my words.
I see.
That's it.
I see. Good job, y'all.
The foundation to wealth is land. Foundation to our freedom is the capability to feed us.
Yeah.
We've got to be able to feed ourselves. When you're talking about the land out there, if we put the resources in, she's got about what,
8 acres.
8 acres out there. That can feed a lot of people.
More than 100 households.
Yeah, that can
We've
feed
done
a
it.
lot of people. And see, this is the thing. It also can be an economic engine.
Yep.
Because if we grow the food out there, then A&I can be the place where we distribute it and go purchase it so that the money turns over. Are y'all hearing me?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've got to start talking about how we're gonna do for self.
Right.
Because if we continue to run to the whiteboard, and I'm like you, don't mean that if they handing out a check, don't get
Yeah,
the
we're
paper.
cashing our checks.
Yeah, get the paper. Yeah, get the paper. But don't be dependent on that. Whereas that they say, okay, if you don't do what I want you to do, you can't get that paper. Yeah, no, we got to be in a position whereas we can tell them to stick that paper
That's cool.
where the sun don't shine.
That's right.
We can't be dependent on that paper. The key to that,
Feed
Her land.
yourself.
in this place here, we can promote shows right here, especially for the youth. And they'll come to the door and we can get that $3-4, and that can be our liberation fund while they having fun. A party with a purpose. Then we would have monies for tractors. Then we have monies to buy seed. Then we have monies to buy trucks to deliver the produce to the market. Somebody wants to go into business, submit a proposal. We've got to become entrepreneurs. We got to become business people. Trying to get a job. Don't listen to Jesse Jackson. No, don't. Because he talking about jobs. We want to create jobs. We don't want to get a job.
There you go.
So it's mandatory. We've also got to understand that when we become economically viable for self, we become a threat.
Right.
Historically, and I just got 5 examples of how our people were doing good economically, and the white folks didn't want us doing good economically, so they would accuse a black man of messing with a white woman and use that as an excuse to come tear down the infrastructure. All the way through history, and they still doing it now. I want to play a clip, and it's so important on what we're trying to do as economic freedom fighters of Indiana. It's about 12 minutes.
Everybody good? Can y'all see?
It's about 12 minutes. Watch
Take care of
this.
my hands. You good? Go ahead.
For a long time, if you went to the library in Wilmington,
Can everybody hear?
We weren't allowed to research.
We were refused, we were rejected by the librarian.
I asked about or inquired about 1898, they wanted to know why.
I was told that, yes, they had something, but they
Good job.
kept it under lock and key.
The story of Wilmington in 1898 still isn't widely known.
What happened here and what's now just this empty patch of grass would radically change racial politics in North Carolina.
This is the story of an American election, but also of something we don't usually find in American history. The violent overthrow of a democratically elected government. In the late 1800s, Wilmington, North Carolina was the state's largest city. It had a majority black population, and historians today describe it as a rarity in the post-Civil War American South.
Wilmington, prior to November 1898, was what the New South could be at the cusp of the 20th century.
There was an unusual degree of black prosperity.
In Wilmington, there were successful black entrepreneurs, doctors, teachers, but also black elected officials. And for a time, that was true throughout the state. Take a look at the politicians on this poster of the 1889 North Carolina House of Representatives. Here at the bottom are black Republican representatives, some from Wilmington. North Carolina also sent 4 black Republicans to the U.S. Congress between 1875 and 1899. The Democratic and Republican parties of 1898 in many ways occupied opposite parts of the political spectrum than they do today.
Most African Americans were voting for the Republican Party, and the Democratic Party was white voters almost exclusively. White supremacy was the central focus of the platform for the Democratic Party.
Republicans in North Carolina were successful in part because of a third party called the Populist Party, made up of mostly white farmers fed up with the tough economic times. North Carolina populists joined up with Republicans to form what they called the Fusion Party. And in the elections of 1894 and 1896, the Fusion Party defeated the Democrats in sweeping victories statewide. That meant North Carolina now had a government that shared power between black and white politicians, including a newly elected Republican governor. Together, they moved towards reforms that would favor black Americans and working class whites.
This was something that the Democratic Party folks were simply not going to accept.
A multiracial government wasn't just a disappointment for Democrats. It was more like a humiliation. They needed a plan to take back control of the state in the next election. So party leaders like Furnifold Simmons, future U.S. Senator, Charles Aycock, future North Carolina governor, and this man, Alfred Moore Waddell, came up with one. To beat the Fusion Party by luring white populist voters away from their alliance with black voters. Wilmington, with a large black population and a local fusion government in power, would be a focus of their campaign. The state Democratic Party handbook for 1898 laid out their goal: consolidate the white vote by stoking white anger and resentment. It said, this is a white man's country and white men must control and govern. The most effective tool was the media. One of North Carolina's biggest newspapers was a Democratic Party mouthpiece. It ran racist political cartoons throughout 1898.
Not everybody was literate in 1898, but to see a political cartoon of the type that ran, you may not be able to read it, but you know exactly what it means.
Many of the cartoons were centered on the threat of Negro rule, even though the fusion government was mostly white. They also played up another fear.
Black men threatening white women became a thing. White men need to do all that they can to protect white womanhood.
This was all part of North Carolina Democratic strategy, but it echoed the national racist rhetoric of the time. In one speech that Democrats printed in Wilmington paper, a prominent Georgia writer named Rebecca Felton said,
If it takes lynching a black man a day to protect white womanhood, I say lynch.
her speech prompted a Wilmington black man named Alex Manley, owner of the Black Run Daily Record newspaper, to respond observation that at the time was shocking.
That white women who had liaisons with black men did so voluntarily and enthusiastically.
And every Negro lynch
They
is
knew what
called
they
a
was doing.
big burly black brute, when in fact many were sufficiently attractive for white girls to fall in love with them.
Manly pretty much said, in a nutshell, sometimes white men choose to deal with black men.
Manly's editorial became another tool for Democrats. Newspapers reprinted it, called it a horrid slander, and ran comments about it on a daily basis. It was just a few months before the election, and white voters were angry.
By the time the election rolled around on November 8th, black voters, Republican voters had been thoroughly intimidated here.
By all accounts, the elections of 1898 were a sham. The Democratic Party had a paramilitary group called the Red Shirts. They attacked and blocked black residents from voting. At a rally just before the election, Alfred Moore Waddell provoked the crowds. He said, "Real office holding ought at once and forever be brought to an end, even if we have to choke the current of the Cape Fear River with promises." It was recounted, and the Democrats won.
Democratic candidates won every seat they had a candidate up for election.
But some local fusionist politicians remained in power because their seats hadn't been up for re-election, like the white Republican mayor and the board of aldermen. And of course, the election did nothing to undo the economic power black folks held in the city. The Democrats had won the election, but their goal of total white supremacist control remained out of reach.
And so they engineered what was essentially a coup d'etat.
The day after the election, at a gathering for white men in Wilmington, the Democrats unveiled a document called the White Declaration of Independence. It contained an ultimatum. Cynthia Brown, whose descendants were in Wilmington back in 1898, is a historian at her church where there's a preserved copy of the declaration from the next day's newspaper.
We will no longer be bullied and will never again be ruled by men of African origin.
They would strip black men of voting rights. They would give white men a large part of the employment heretofore given to black men. And as for Alex Manly, we demand that he leave this city forever within 24 hours. The next morning, hundreds of white men marched to the offices of the Daily Record. Manly was gone. He had fled to save his own life. They set the Daily Record building on fire. This is where it once stood.
Once the white leadership destroyed Alex Manly's printing press, they destroyed one way in which the African American community in Wilmington could organize itself and keep itself informed.
At City Hall, the mayor and board of aldermen were forced out.
There's 200 armed men in City Hall at the time. They didn't do it of their own free will. And as they resigned, a new member selected by the Democratic Party was voted into office.
Waddell, who once threatened to fill the Cape Fear River with black bodies, was the new mayor of Wilmington. Meanwhile, the mob had grown to about 2,000 men, and the violence spilled into the streets. In these photos, X's mark where the first black residents were killed.
The stories are that they were dumped into the river. And there are varying stories about how many people were killed.
I see 40 to 60 clearly as fatalities as a result of the violence, but I think it was higher.
Many black residents hid for days in the swamps and the wooded cemeteries of the city, including Cynthia's great-grandmother. And thousands of other residents fled Wilmington, never to return. Shortly afterward, Democrats printed booklets celebrating a glorious victory, and in the newspapers depicted black residents as the instigators.
This image is a gross misrepresentation of what actually happened during 1898. You know, what you see is African American men with guns, not white men with machine guns.
The city never regained its black majority population. Jim Crow laws like literacy tests and poll taxes that prevented black people from voting were immediately enacted, and Wilmington's spirit of Black opportunity was crushed. Black political representation in the state was over. It would be 90 years until North Carolina elected its next Black Congress member.
Wilmington did a really great job of covering up a very dark past for a very long time.
Over the years, the textbooks on North Carolina's history have struggled to accurately describe what happened in 1898. This one from 1933 says the situation was unfortunate for both races. And this one from 1978 doesn't have that much more detail. But they both praise Charles Aycock, a politician who helped perpetrate the riot. They say he had a keen mind and a kind heart, and that, in fact, he was one of the best friends that the colored people had in the state.
It's a legacy that North Carolina has yet to fully undo. The names of the perpetrators are on Wilmington's school buildings and city parks. But the legacy is also bigger than those names. Turn on the news and the state's long history of political oppression echoes.
Was strict new voter ID law in North Carolina, racial gerrymandering, and a push for new voting maps. The court says the Republican-led legislature regrouped congressional districts along racial lines, violating the Constitution.
There's a tremendous amount of intimidation that is still felt by the Black community.
It doesn't have to be mass mayhem and violence in the streets.
The strategy shifts towards designing state laws in such a way that you can exclude blacks from voter participation.
The subliminal pursuit of continuing the white Declaration of Independence.
And if you don't see it for what it really is, it can happen all over again.
Don't see it for what it really is, it can happen all over again. How come? They established an independent political party and were able to overcome the Democrats, who were the racists at that time, take over the city. White folks didn't like it. Accused the brother of messing with a white woman. Tore up the city. We're not doing anything new. This is what EFFI is trying to accomplish. We want to establish a political party to where it's that we have ballot access so that we can put our own people in the seats of power. That don't stop us, because they standing in the way. They won't give us the petitions that we need to get on the ballot. But that don't stop us from building our economy, developing the land, making it produce food, and by using this as an economic engine to where it's that we have the monies that we need in order to feed ourselves, clothe ourselves. Y'all like this?
Yeah.
No, really.
I already told you 3 times, man.
See, this was made by this woman right here.
Right.
She calls herself the clothes doctor.
She is.
That's nice.
I'm so glad I'm a patient.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, this woman
right.
sews for some of the most richest people in the city. Now, you wouldn't know that. And see, what they do is they go and buy clothes that don't fit, because you start spending a certain amount of money. They don't they don't sell them for large women. So what they'll go and buy 2 of them and tell her to fix them up. And I'm telling you,
That's good. Shit.
I'm not a big man, so she didn't have to buy but 1 of these. just enough cloth to do 1 for me.
Yeah.
But I wore this to say that the talent that we have among our ranks, we can feed ourselves, land, clothe ourselves, tailor, And if we get smart, we can start providing transportation, shelter. Brothers got flyers right there. Build a house. Sister, I already told you. You know, I saw her slinging a hammer. Sister know what she doing. And her sons too. And her son's father is a bona fide plumber. If we start putting our resources together, and I see how the NAACP went to the Marriott to have Petey Boo come through there.
Yeah.
Y'all know Petey Boo.
Yeah.
Pete Buttigieg. I call him Petey because he's young. And I call him Boo because sometimes it's hard to say that last name. So I just call him old Petey Boo. And Petey Boo went down there. They spent several $1,000s that they could have put right here. And oh, this is not big enough. Well, see, we got to start somewhere. And we got to start turning our money over within ourselves. See, if they'd have brought that money here, that would have been a possible down payment to own the whole damn place.
Damn.
This is an economic engine. If we own this, then everybody that is in business and of African descent, this could be Little Africa. You know what they have, Little China, Little Japan, Philippines got there, them Mexicans, they everywhere. We can. And all we got to do is start supporting this entity right here and turning the money over. Okay. Is everybody hearing? So this is the game plan. And see, the grassroots is working with the so-called elites. And Mashawn, I told y'all, he told me he had a family problem. But he's supposed to be looking online. But whether he's looking or not, we gonna make sure this video gets in their hand.
Right.
You know, because they've been inviting me to the meeting. I'm gonna go up and through there and make sure that everybody gets it in their hand so they hear from the grassroots. Okay. They telling me it's time to go.
You pointed to that dude over there about you had something to say. He had something to say.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I didn't want to be the Grinch, but
Go ahead.
I kind of had issues with this meeting that I had with Marshawn Woolley then, right? It's like we got talks of a black agenda going around town, right? That's policy prescription, right? It was policy that redlined us and locked us out, and it's that same policy that's gonna put us where we need to be. And like Wild Style told the story, but I don't think everybody get it, because then right after him, we got people that was talking about do for self, but there's 10 white families in America that own more land than the 40 million blacks, right? And black people in America got 2.6% of the wealth at $1 trillion, when whites have 90%, that's $100 trillion, 10 trillion in each 10 sectors, right? And out of our 2.6%, or 1 trillion, however you want to put it, baby boomers have 75% of that, and that's in their pension, right? And that's directly tied to the civil rights era, right? The generation before the boomers fought, and they pushed things forward, and the generation after that was able to make some gains off of that. And then, like, I also come from the philosophy that you blame black people last, right? And when we talk about like what we can do with our money, I don't think people understand like how much limited money we got, and like we already beneath the water, right? So 37% of our household budget goes to housing. 16% goes to food, 16% goes to transportation, 10% goes to insurance and pension, right? And then everything after that is like extremely low. So we're not buying Benzes and Gucci bags and Jordans. It's just not happening, right? It's a myth.
We ain't got that money.
We don't have it in the first place.
Right.
Right? They don't even market certain things to us.
Right.
I was driving through Pittsburgh and I seen a Bentley ad, right? And I said, "Whoa, don't no black people live here, right?" And you know, like you just already automatically knew, right? 1 out of 7 white households is millionaires, right? And then our first biggest debt is student debt, and then our second biggest debt is car debt, right? And in Indianapolis, eviction rates for black women is some of the highest in the nation, right? And 45% of our children is on ALIS or beneath poverty. To only get in the top 5% of black America, you only need 350 hard, right? So like you can just have like a house and a rental property, and that's the top 5%, right? Where you looking at like 13% of white people is like millionaires, right? And that scales all the way up into the billions. So like when we talk about this issue, I was under the understanding that we would bring it to policy prescription, right? Like we talk about like racism, like what happened downtown on the bottoms and stuff like that. Like how like when you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu, and you have people that's like, okay, you got some land. It's only a little bit of land. It's only gonna feed a few black families in the first place, but then they'll just come and take that land, right? And I think like we have to like really understand what's happening today, right? And I'm not just telling people just go vote, but I can see that like y'all here, so y'all are interested in what's going on in Black Indy, right? And really this room should be packed out, right? And that's kind of the reason like why we're not going forward, because we don't have more people with like boots on the ground. I got people that call my phone every day, like, is the reparations check here yet? And then I joke back with them like, nah, it ain't gonna come until you actually get involved in the process. Right. But I just wanted to give y'all those numbers so we can like actually see what we dealing with, right? When it comes to homelessness, right? Majority of the homeless people in Indianapolis, and I had it wrote down somewhere, but is black. Yeah. And most of that is black males, right? And we don't even have protections for our renters, right? 60% of blacks in Indiana rent, right? And for whites it's like 70% owned, and Latino is pretty much like 50-50, right? We don't have protection for our renters. So we got people that's renting and they won't have electricity or plumbing or something that they need, and they get into a dispute with the landlord, and he still wants them to pay the rent, and they probably got to move into an extended stay, and they can't pay the rent, so he filed an eviction, they get eviction on their notice, and then they like in this shelter, then they can't get a place, and then they become home. Like that's what I thought we were here to talk about today, not some fantasy land on how we could put our 2.6%
why haven't you brought it up quicker?
No, why didn't you bring it up early?
Let him finish, because I'm going to address all of that.
Because like, I just didn't want to just jump in there and, you know, say it like, because I didn't have the floor at the time. And I wanted to do a report on housing so I can like really bring this home. But like, this is a lot of information, and this is where we're at, right? When you look at homelessness, when you look at Warren, I think Warren got like 12,000 students, right? But they like, their child homelessness is like 50% of the school districts, right? They're almost touching, I think they got like 500 and IPS got like 700, but like 15,000 more students, right? Like we are in dire straits, and it says about 2053 that the household wealth of black Americans, the median will be at 0. Like we're about to be done. We're about to be extinct. And we talking about do for self, like we gonna like farm some tomatoes and stuff and be all right. This is 2020,
so what do
right?
we do?
It's not 1901, it's not 1865, right? And when you even talk about the black agenda, like 15% set aside for Black Indy, we 28%. So even that's too low, and we don't even have that, right? So that's just what I wanted to add to the conversation.
Well,
can I ask a question?
Let me address a little bit here.
What we do, bro?
Let me address a little bit here. We had an agenda. And our problems, I like to call it an elephant. You can't address everything all at once. You can't. You asked me about making a presentation about housing. I knew that Winstyle was going to address that, and that is what I shared with you. Can he, in his presentation, address all of the issues that we as people have about housing in 10 minutes, which is what I gave him? So to expect.
Freak out from this.
Huh?
I'm beginning to freak out with this. People got to have the opportunity to address and say different things they want to. Don't they? I mean, he brought up a good point. And he should have asked this guy.
I'm not going to engage.
All right, let me get out of here, man.
Oh, don't get mad, sweetie.
I ain't mad. I'm going to smoke me a cigarette. Shit. I ain't mad. I'm disappointed.
I'm surprised that it's a cigarette. But the agenda is too vast for everything to be dealt with. It's just too vast. Now,
Hey, can I make a small point? I would like to come back either here or at another forum and talk about more policy specifics, because I'm not gonna say that I don't think we need to be doing something right here and now, but I agree with you that I don't feel like that's gonna be the total solution. Is we're gonna put our 2 cents in, which is literally about what it is compared to white wealth in this country, to make things work. We do have to address racism. And so I would like to, either have these conversations about specific policies, because organizations I named, they've helped write the laws in some cases. Some of them have lobbyists out there right now. Some of these laws need to be changed. Some of them could be implemented better if they wanted to, right here in the city. That's if they wanted to.
see, this is one meeting of many. We can't do it all in 2 hours. We can't. And see, if we don't start, and I was talking about that elephant, you can't eat that elephant all in one bite. You got to eat him a bite at a time. And see, I think we try to bite off too much and get frustrated because we can't chew it all. And instead of spitting some of it out and chewing that which we can, we talking about, well, we're not organized to address anything in the totality of Lawrence Township with our people out there. We don't have that type of organization. We can farm 8 acres.
Excuse me, brother.
Yeah, we can establish an economic engine in this spot that we got. What's up?
I think since our situation is critical, we have to realize that it's very critical. I think we have to take an assessment to what is to be the priority amongst priorities. So we can be more optimum on getting some, some gain.
That's prioritizing is necessary. I agree. Yes.
I just wanted to affirm the conversation, but you, sister right here, talked about philanthropy and how it should come from our own place, like what you did with this young lady and bought and put your money where your mouth is.
Right.
That I want to affirm that. I also think Wildstyle is my neighbor, and believe it or not, in the last 4 or 5 years, he stopped $10 million from leaving our neighborhood. He also has put money in the hands of people that triple over into probably $1 million in about 10-block radius. And a lot of that is about practice. So this is a part of the form of the practice. But think about re-asking questions about how many people give their dollars up to friends and neighbors. That's called philanthropy. And if we can redirect that In our neighborhood, we go door to door and we say, how many dollars you give up, right? And then we actually connect people. What social connections and social capital do you have, do we know? We don't do that well as black people, because we hoard all the names, because it's more than money that's currency. Trust is currency. Social capital is currency, right? White folk, they'll take their names and they'll send it, I want you to meet my cousin, right? And we got to do that on a different level. That has to become practice, right? And then you will see, and we got to start talking about the alternative. So how do we celebrate people who are doing the alternative? So I'd like to celebrate Maxie at the Makerspace, who work with black men and make sure money put in their hands. How do we have platforms where we celebrate the positive traction? Because the problem's gonna be here.
See, we can work with anybody that's doing something. And I don't really know Wild Styles' history. I know him from Facebook, and I like what he says on Facebook. You understand what I'm saying? I know that he was taken to task the economic summit that AACI had done. And I said, okay, give him and her opportunity to put out there what they want. Because we need to get this conversation to the people that can make the decisions. When you talk about the 15% and all, let me state on that 15%. Sister didn't have all of the documents. Her document had been messed with or something.
No, but the document that you brought back, it says the same thing.
What's on my document?
What's on your document says the same thing as the papers that I have, and that is that the designation.
I'm looking on certification qualifications.
Right, it says qualified